Vanderbilt is trending in the right direction for a couple of top targets. Is there another commitment imminent? Also, Tim Corbin and the VandyBoys, they face a massive portal challenge. It's time to rebuild. Here we go.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Vandy podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton, and on today's episode, we're going to talk baseball a little bit because the transfer portal opened yesterday. But I want to start with Vanderbilt football recruiting because after the last week was amazing. You get 3 commits. You get 2 existing commits that were looking elsewhere, top commits, Jeremiah Douglas and Amari Sanders. They lock it down, they shut it down, and they solidify to Vandy. So it's like getting another recruiting win with those announcements. So 5 major recruiting wins over the weekend, and some that could spill over into this week that we're going to talk about. So that's where I want to start because Vanderbilt's on a heater now. Clark Lee this thing is starting to pick up a lot of steam, as I predicted earlier in May, that this recruiting month of June and this first weekend has not disappointed, by the way. A lot of dynamite coming out of this recruiting visits, and there's some more guys on the hook that are coming later on in June that could also be major assets to what Vanderbilt's trying to do from a recruiting perspective. So should any of them commit today as you're watching this, understand there's going to be breakdowns like I did for Davion Crumedy, for MJ Gideon, and for Ethan Hauser. I did video breakdowns of those guys, and if anyone else commits, that is where we're going to go for every commit. That will whatever episode it is, there will be a video breakdown for that. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But man, I'm excited about what there has to, I'm excited for what's on the forefront because there's a lot of very talented players that, to me, feel like they're almost underranked, and they are trending towards Vanderbilt. Now, when you look at the first name I want to look at is Trent Blaylock, and he's from the state of Texas. He came this weekend. He's a corner. I think he's a 3-star corner, but I'll look him up here as we go. But this is, again, this is a name that really kind of jumped off the page at me, and everything on social media with Trent Blaylock suggests that whenever he decides to commit, he's going to commit to Vanderbilt. I feel really good about that based on the attention that he's giving to his visit to Vanderbilt. I don't know his gamesmanship. I don't know kind of how he plays this information, but I feel like on 3 they do these things called RPMs, things like that, and there's an RPM Vanderbilt sitting at 83%. Now this guy's a 3-star, 88.07 grade. And this guy's special, man. He is – I think it's going to come down between Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, Texas maybe. But his offer list is impressive. He has probably more offers than this, but his top ones, obviously Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, and A&M. You get a guy that's offered by those programs, 3-star or not, this dude can play. He's from the Houston area at Associata High School. I think I said that right. But everything you want in a corner, 6'1", 175, and has all the skills. And I'll do it, like I said, if he commits, I'll do a full breakdown. So Trenton, if you happen to run across this episode, just go ahead and commit so I can really tell the world what you bring to the table. But I can tell you this: the corners are getting taller. This guy's athletic. This guy can do it. And that offer list is impressive. You beat out Brent Venables in Oklahoma for a recruit. That is an impressive feat there. So I feel good about the direction that is going, and I feel like that is probably the most imminent of the commitments. But another one that I feel really good about too, and he's actually committing on June 4th, which is in a few days. That's Blake Jenkins. And he's another cornerback. He's 6'1", 190. He is a 4-star, graded at a 90.3. So he's, I guess, at the bottom of that. The most direct competition is SMU. And from all the reports that I've heard, every piece of intel that I've read, and reading some of the tea leaves in social media, it seems like Vanderbilt has made a significant jump for Blake Jenkins. Now, he's from Katy, Texas, and Katy is also in the Houston area. So it's no surprise that Jenkins and Blaylock are probably good friends, because they're both in the Houston area, and they both probably do a lot of these 7-on-7 camps and things together, being in the same area. So that is, he goes to Tompkins High School in Katy, which is Katy is a growing community in Houston. I'm not overly familiar. I'll have to ask Chris Gordy. He's a Houston guy, but he is 89. He's a 90 now. He just got his 4th star. He's a 94-star on 247. He's an 84-star on ESPN. But Vanderbilt over SMU is kind of where the RPMs are going there, according to On3, and everyone just kind of feels good about this duo, actually, of Blake Jenkins and Trent Blaylock. So those are two that I feel really, really good about, as far as where they stand and how they, where they stand and where they stand on their commitments. So that would be two major pieces. You add those two guys with Matt Williams, and my God, you've got yourself quite the cornerback crew. And I think with what you ask those guys to do and the size of these guys, athleticism of these guys, and when you come from Texas, you're typically more fundamentally sound. And Matt Williams at Maury High School in Norfolk, Virginia, you watch his film, you can tell he's very technically sound as well. These guys could have a path to playing early, and Vanderbilt's approach in the portal could have them not have to worry about recruiting a lot of cornerbacks. Maybe just like one veteran guy with some experience. I don't know how they would do in the portal, but like you get 3 lockdown corners, who I think Matt Williams is a 3-star playing as a 4-star. Same with Trent Blaylock. I think those two guys are playing above their rating. And then, of course, Jenkins being that 4-star guy, he would come in as technically the highest rated of the 3, but I think all 3 are, they have equal traits. So I'm really feeling good about those two guys committing. And then this is a name that I'm going to hopefully have to learn. And that's Jasper Ngakwe, right? He is a 4-star offensive lineman, and he is from Richardson, Texas. I don't know where Richardson, Texas is, but right now Vanderbilt is in the mix. I don't know where they stand with him. He had, from all practical purposes, he had a really nice visit. Texas Tech might just be in it for him, NIL stuff, in-state stuff. Like, unfortunately, that kind of seems to be where we're headed there. But I think he'd be a really, really nice fit for Vanderbilt if he decided to show up. He would be. Just think about him and Luke Berger coming in as your tackles in this class. That would be an outstanding duo there on the offensive line if he could make that happen. I think there's still some time there. I don't know when he's officially committing, but I don't feel like this one's imminent. I feel like he's going to take his time with this. Texas Tech. I think it's going to be a Texas Tech Vandy battle for Ngakwe. I think that's how you say his name. He's 6'6", 290. Again, comes in as a quick tackle prospect there. Great feet, great hands, just athletic guy. So that would be, if Vanderbilt could land that, that would be an amazing get for that. But Texas Tech, probably going to be hard to beat. But then again, they're having some quarterback issues, and you can come into the SEC and play an SEC schedule. So maybe he needs to think about that. Maybe that's on his mind. Who knows? Adekunle Adebayo, he's an edge from New Jersey. He had a great visit. He followed me unprompted on X. So I feel like there's a good chance that Vanderbilt surged ahead for him as well. He's a 6'3", 230-pound versatile edge defender that can drop down and play in certain situations. He could drop down and play defensive tackle from the interior perspective. And versatility is key. And when you look at the edge position, Vanderbilt, there's a lot of different ways you can go. And Vanderbilt is kind of in a weird limbo of like they have a lot of portal guys on the edge. And they have Jace McCollum, who I think is going to be a really good edge player coming in. He's a freshman. He's got some development to do. But I think that's going to be one of those positions where you have – and Vanderbilt needs to have more of a healthy balance of high school versus portal guys at the edge position. So they like the offensive line, so they don't have to – and Vanderbilt's done a tremendous job recruiting on the offensive line to create some of that class separation to where they don't have to overhaul it every single year. I think the same now moving forward needs to happen with the edge. This would be a really nice piece for them to add there. And then, of course, Levi McKenzie, safety from Fort Myers. Solid offer list for Levi McKenzie coming out of Fort Myers High School, or coming out of Fort Myers, Florida, Riverdale High School. Undersized safety, but to me, I don't think that necessarily matters. The guy's athletic. He can play the ball in the air. His second highlight on his reel, he ran a guy down from distance all the way down the field to save a touchdown. He's got great tracking skills. Any throw, he can go track and make a play on it. Of course, doesn't shy away from contact, things like that. The things that I think scares people away from recruiting him very high is that he's 5'10". But to me, if he's good enough for Kurt Signetti to offer, he's got a good offer list, which tells me if guys are offering him, they're not worried about him being 5'10" either. And so I'm not worried about that. So I think that would be a good fit for what Clark Lee does defensively. I think with the safeties, with CJ Hurd, I think this is going to be an important year for them developmentally with CJ Hurd, because CJ Hurd is that 5'9", 5'10" guy that Levi McKenzie is for Vanderbilt if he decides to commit. And that would be something that I think it'd be a very good look for this defense. So those are a few names to consider. And those are a few names that could be imminent. Those are some names that you could watch out for in recruiting as this thing moves forward, as the summer moves forward. The Jasper and Gawker prospect, that's going to be quite the battle with Texas Tech. Now Texas Tech has landman money, so who knows what they're thinking there? Who knows what Jasper's thinking there? But that's going to be an interesting one. That's probably the most interesting one to look at. I feel like the two corners, Blake Jenkins and Trent Blaylock from the Houston area that just visited this past weekend, those are, I think, names to watch on a more like – I'm putting those two on commit watch. And then, of course, Jasper is going to be an interesting one. The others, I think, just keep an eye out for a possible commitment. And I think if you get one this week, I think you're going to get another. I think this could be another week where if you get one, you're going to get three. So it's going to be interesting. So pay attention to that moving forward. We got more official visitors that we're going to talk about on a later episode and get you ready for another weekend of official visitors and kind of predict, okay, who's going to hit where and, all of that stuff. So we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk baseball because it's getting interesting. And this is now time for baseball to really kind of put their best foot forward in the transfer portal. What is their plan? They're losing a bunch of guys. We'll talk about all that. We'll break it down next. All right, workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, and that inbox is overflowing, and that one position you need to fill is still sitting wide open. And when the pressure's on and you need to make the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, whether it's skills, experience, location, whatever it is. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. So spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who can check all your boxes, less stress, less time, more results. And when you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. and listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. So just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed right here on Locked On Vandy. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And real quick, if you want ad-free episodes of Locked On Vandy, if you want extra content, members-only Discord access, all of that, lockedonvandy.supercast.com is the place to go. The link is down there in the show notes, or it's right here on the screen. So just type it in a separate tab as you're listening. And then when you sign up, if you sign up, let me know so that I can be excited for you. I'll shout you out. I'll do whatever, and we'll come up with a content plan. But there's some things that you can have access to that not everybody has access to right here in this brain. All right. So make sure you do that and sign up today. Links down in the show notes. Click. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy part of your day. Thank you for making Locked On number one. We were talking recruiting. There's some chatter, there's some intel, there might be some guys trending in the right direction for Clark Lee and for Vanderbilt. So keep an eye on those names that we talked about in the first segment. But I want to switch gears to baseball, because this season was the streak buster. This was the first year that Vandy did not make a regional. And given the way that this baseball tournament is played out, holy cow, it's crazy. Like, Troy is hosting a regional, and they were in the same, or they're hosting a super region. Sorry, they were in the same regional with Florida and Miami, and they came out on top. So it's a crazy postseason. So I don't know how Vandy would have done if they would have done anything. It's like I feel like it's the most widespread. And again, this is like transfer portal era type stuff. Like, you're getting more teams that are better across the board. Like, Troy or Little Rock is going to be in the World Series. That's crazy, but it's possible, right? It's possible. So how does the VandyBoys? What is their offseason blueprint? What do they need to do? The first thing to me is this, and there's a lot of information out there, and I think it's, there's a lot of great information out there, but the first thing they need to do, obviously, is address pitching. All right. They need to address pitching. I don't know if that's from a leadership standpoint, from a philosophy standpoint, from a training standpoint. I think they need to address it. All right. Now, I think you have some guys that are departing. In the portal, I think you have some guys that have popped, and that is, there's going to be quite the exodus in the portal. I don't know how you describe that, but Miller Green is he's out. He is in the portal, and I think he's making an MLB draft decision as well. From a pitching perspective, Hudson Barton is also in the portal, and Jacob Scholes is in the portal along with Tristan Bristow. Those guys have entered the transfer portal so far from a pitching perspective for Vanderbilt. Now, not sure, because there was a lot of injuries and you didn't see a lot of these guys, but it's obvious that they just need to, cut the dead weight. They need to reevaluate some things and reevaluate how they do a lot of things. But what we do know is Austin Nye is going to be back. Hopefully that he can keep his arm healthy at this point. Tyler Baird, I think, has some positive things in his future. I think if we can figure out how to develop these guys, Wyatt Nadeau is going to be somebody that I'm really excited about. Connor Hamilton. I think you get those four guys, figure out what to do with those four guys. I think you can kind of build around that and just try to figure out what's going. I don't know if it's only June 2nd, so this is definitely not the end of it. But Connor Fennell is making some draft decisions. Brendan Cyber, Alex Kranzler, Luke Guth, I think are guys that I'm not sure what's going to happen there. But again, they need to hit the portal hard from a pitching perspective. And and hope that some of these high school recruits make it after the MLB draft as well. But I think you need to build in the portal just in case, because the MLB draft is kind of crazy. And with NIL and with guarantees, you just don't know. So that's kind of the basis on that. But pitching, I think, is the most important thing, especially your bullpen. So whatever you need to do in the portal to make that happen, that's what you need to do. And be aggressive. You're hiring a GM. You obviously have a new mindset. You're going to try to, quote, figure this out. So why not, quote, figure it out? That's the biggest part for me. You need infield guys. Mancini's out. Logan Johnson or Chris Maldonado is out from an infield perspective. Braden Holcomb is probably gone. Tommy Gooden and Colin Barzee are back. Hopefully Barzee's hopefully he is healthier. Brody Johnston is back. Riker Waite, Corbin Reynolds, and Rustin Rigdon are guys that are presumably coming back, but you never know with the portal and all that stuff. And I don't know that Vanderbilt's done shaking things up. So you have, again, I think you need another big bat if you're going to keep this up. I think you really need to focus on, as far as getting a good hitting middle infielder to kind of take over at second base. Now, I don't know if Rustin Rigdon is that guy for you to play second base, but I think you need to address either getting, as far as from a hitting and field position standpoint, like you need some outfielders as well, right? Because you're losing Will Hampton. He got into the portal. That's going to be a big one there. But you're losing Logan Johnstone, and you're losing, of course, some of these returning depth guys. Some of these guys down the roster could, like a Will Hampton, could jump into the portal and try to figure out their next best move. So, again, you've got some guys in the high school ranks. You've got, from an infield perspective, Colin Bland. You have Gunnar Skelton, who can be that utility guy. You could throw him at second base if you need to. You've got, you've got Noah Wilson on the hook. You've got some names out there. You've got some local guys out there that could show up that are balling out. But you just don't know with the MLB draft who's going to be here, who's not going to be here. And you can't, I feel like with baseball, you can't really bank on that. And with the transfer portal, it allows you to not have to bank on that. So to me, I think you find the best outfielder you possibly can from a hitting perspective and a defensive perspective. You get the most dynamic guy you can. You offer whatever you can and go get him. And then, of course, hang on to Brody, Riker, and Rigdon as best as you can. And don't let those guys into the portal. This is going to be a hold on to your seats type month of June. It's exciting for football. Like, football is going to be like a really great June. I think for baseball, it's like white knuckle, hold on to your seat type of June for the VandyBoys and Tim Corbin, and trying to figure out what he wants to do, what he needs to do to retain guys, to go grab guys out of the portal and make sure they're meaningful guys that fit in with the VandyBoy culture and that are dynamic and can play. But pitching is first and foremost, and just getting the right nucleus of guys on the roster is probably the most important thing that he can do. So that being said, what's next? Drop in the comments. What do you want to see? What is the most important aspect of this offseason for you from the VandyBoys perspective? Also, drop in the comments from the first segment, what potential target that Vanderbilt's trending for are you most excited for? Which one of those do you think has the best chance to succeed right away? Give me your thoughts on who your favorite one out of that group is, and you don't say all of them. For me, I can say all of them because they all are very exciting in different ways. But who excites you? What are you most looking forward to in recruiting in the very, very near future? So Make sure you like, subscribe. We're going to continue down this path. It's going to be an interesting summer for both football and baseball, as they're both baseball's in the portal season, football's in recruiting season. So a lot of storylines coming out of that. So we'll see kind of where we are in that regard. So until next time, make sure you follow the show at Locked On Vandy on all social media platforms. Make sure you like, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. And until next time, you're done. Peace.